Welcome to Shoot First, Talk Later, the photo shoot podcast with me, Robert Gershinson. My guest is Andrew Polec, who is currently starring as Strat in Jim Steinman's Bat Out of Hell the musical at the Dominion Theatre in London's West End. If you want to see the photos I've just shot of Andrew, head to sftl.photos. We've done the shooting, now let's do the talking. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on Shoot First, Talk Later.
The show it's getting amazing reviews.
Yeah, I think it is due to amazing audience members who come every night to see the show. Everyone relates to this music in so many varied, powerful ways. You have people who come up to you after the show and say, "Oh my gosh, my father used to play me Bat Out of Hell when I was a 3-year-old, and he pushed me on the swings, and the swing set would be right next to the church. And my mother never forgave my father because I would sing Bat Out of Hell on the swing set in its entirety right next to the church, saying like hell and everything." So you have so many people who have so many clear memories of these songs, and they really connect them to their family and their life.
Is that why you think, because when I think of Meatloaf and Bat Out of Hell, I think it's so quintessentially American. So I've always wondered why there's such connection to that kind of music over here in the UK.
I have that same fascination. I know that the first Bat Out of Hell album, some of the musicians who played were part of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. And I think when they played the music and did the recording, they thought possibly that it was a parody album of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. Because when you think about it, Thunder Road does sound a little bit like Bat Out of Hell. But, Bat Out of Hell kind of goes crazy and goes into a whole nother dimension of rock and roll and awesome. And I don't know whether Jim, when writing these songs, was doing almost an homage to 1950s rock and roll and then putting a spin on it and saying, yeah, but this is what it's changed into because now we're in like the 70s where everything is crazy and it's sex, drugs, and love and rock and roll, and it's all about change and expression and valuing everything that's special about an individual. I'm wondering possibly if that's what people connect to. That's possibly what the UK connected to. It was the idyllic symbols of America kind of turned on their head and turned into something almost completely different and beautiful.
It is definitely that 1950s kind of, varsity jackets and baseball and, necking out with girls on Lover's Lane in like Cadillacs. It's definitely
Absolutely.
that thing that, I always think of the Happy Days when people think of that, but we love it over here. We love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the pinnacle of that, leather jacket, varsity jacket, or going to a car and necking is in Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Yeah.
So, and you can even hear it in the bass line where it's like do 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 do. So you've got like
It's
Elvis
like Bill
in
Haley
there.
in the Comets.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. So let's go back. Let's go way, way, way back.
Sure.
Were you one of those Glee kids at school?
I was not. I would have loved to have been. I mean, geez, that would have been so cool. I was a sports kid. I did lacrosse. I really, really liked lacrosse. I
Not
thought
a usual American pastime, lacrosse?
I think it's more usual in America than probably the UK.
Okay. And were you on the school team for that?
I was on the school team, and I thought I would probably just pursue what's seen as possibly a normal path in America, where you play a sport. If you're good at it, you hope to get a scholarship from a college or university.
Based on that sport.
Based on that sport, and you play it at the college university, and you study to possibly become pre-med and then become a doctor or something. And that's basically the path that I thought I was going on. And that all suddenly changed one summer when I was going down a hill really, really fast, almost like a Bat Out of Hell on a bicycle. And there was a blind turn at the end of this hill. And I was going so fast that I wasn't paying attention to the blind turn. And all of a sudden a car came from the blind turn. And I panicked and I hit my brakes on my bicycle. I was going really, really fast. And only the front brake worked. So I blacked out and my dad was riding behind me, and he said he saw me basically do a Superman on my handlebars as the front wheel refused to move, and I just flew over the handlebars and landed very, very hard on what I believe you guys call is the pavement.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
The sidewalk.
Oh, no, not the
No?
sidewalk.
Oh.
Sorry. What, the road.
On the road.
It's just called the road
We
here?
call it the road as well.
Jeez. Okay. Forgive my ignorance.
So what, you were passed out? You were knocked out?
I was knocked out. I woke up in a pool of blood. They rushed me to the emergency room. I dealt with a concussion and head trauma, and they had to put me in a stretcher because they thought possibly I wouldn't be able to walk. And I was in basically the head trauma unit for about 5 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it was really, really serious. And, if I wasn't wearing a helmet, I probably would not be here right now. So wear a helmet, I guess, is the main moral. Secondly, though, at the end of the 5 days when they thought I was well enough to possibly get up and walk around, I hadn't walked for 5 days. They put me in a wheelchair. And when I met the doctor said, "Hey, can you walk in a straight line?" And I got out of the wheelchair and I stumbled and I couldn't walk in a straight line. And the doctor said, no sports for a year. No contact sports. No sports where you are physically bumping into people.
But was there, you had broken legs, arms, what?
No, just my head was still so scrambled up that they didn't want
I
it
see.
to get hit or shaken again.
Is that hard to deal with? Especially at such, you're 14, you said.
Yeah.
At such a young age. That's quite a big, if you think you've got a particular path and suddenly, boom, that's taken away from you, how do you deal with that at age 14?
You don't know what to do. At that age, I had not been exposed to really anything besides, I don't know, sports or watching TV.
Yeah.
That's kind of or at least my opinion of the American upbringing. You're just you either do this or you do this. And I don't know, I had been into drawing, but I had never really given any thought to music or rock and roll or theater. So my dad, knowing me when I was down, he was really, really into music, and he wanted to share his love of that with me, and he played me Paradise by the Dashboard Light. He played me Meatloaf, and hearing that kind of energy in Meatloaf, hearing that kind of energy in Jim Steinman's music, it really, really inspired me to go, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother avenue where you can expend all of your limitless amounts of energy and really, really sink your teeth into something and almost treat it like a sport.
So from that point on, that's what your life became, music? What, you suddenly went into singing lessons or the choir or?
Yeah, I went into the choir. I eventually moved into musicals, and I eventually did become that kind of, Glee kid.
Like jazz hands and all that?
Well, I guess. Though I didn't really feel like I was totally, totally part of that group because I didn't, start out like that at a very, very young age. And I still didn't, take singing lessons until much later, and I still, I still kind of thought, well, I'm still going to go to a school and do, pre-med and still try to pursue that. So I don't know, but I really, really did like being in rock and roll bands and starting bands and playing at talent shows. And I really liked playing at the drum set as well. So
when did you discover that you could sing?
It's the weirdest thing. It was 2 years after my accident. I was in my school choir, and the choir teacher said, "Yeah, Andrew, you're going to do the solo on this song." And I didn't really register. I went, oh, wow, that's really kind of weird. I don't know if I'm really prepared for a solo. But I worked at it. And, the strangest thing is I would re-listen to this CD over and over again that had the song that we were singing. And I would
song?
sing along to it. Oh, geez. It must have been some kind of gospel, funky song. Oh, jeez.
Funky gospel.
Okay, all right, you win. I'm in love with you. All right. I don't know. So something along that.
I know the kind of the gowns on and
absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if we use the hands though. I know you keep
doing
that. You're hoping for those hands.
I'm hoping
I know
for jazz
that.
hands.
Yeah.
So he said, "You're going to do the solo," and you went, "Excuse me?"
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just try the best that I can. And I went, and we did the concert. My parents came to see it, and I sang it, and I don't know. The concert finished. I go up to my parents, and my mom's looking at me with a face of kind of shock. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, you can sing."
Wow.
And I thought to myself, well, yeah, I think everyone can sing. So...
No, they can't.
Yeah.
Because I can't sing.
Really?
Yeah, God no. I had Cindy Wilson on from the B-52s a couple of episodes ago, and she was like, "Well, I didn't know I could sing." She's from the South, obviously. That's an amazing impersonation of her.
That was a good impersonation,
and she was like, "What, similar?" She says, "Similar to you," and I was like, "No, I cannot sing. Like, if I was to sing, it would hurt me and you."
I always thought people could sing just like how everyone can think, you know? So I always thought it was just like, oh, everyone's has it, but some people choose to do it, and some people choose not to.
But so even when you were like into sports, you were just sort of like, you at that time you thought you could sing, or it was only the case of once you had your accident and you kind of had to find your new path, you thought, well, I better put that singing to good use, or it was a case of you discovered you could.
I guess I knew I could sing. I just didn't know it would be anything special. I don't know. I guess you just don't register it. Like, I can't think of another example, to tell you the truth.
So from that concert,
right?
You then what? You set up sort of garage bands or open mic spots?
Yeah. I did. I really at the time I really liked the band Jet.
Oh, yeah.
Are You Gonna Be My Girl?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I put together a band to like play that song at a talent show, and then tried to keep that band together, and then of course that band always falls apart. And then I wanted to do another one where we like covered Fall Out Boy songs, and then I really liked Cartel, and I put together a band to like cover like Cartel songs. And then I don't know. These people, they come and go. They like to play guitar, and then they're like, okay, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Where were you finding these people? 'Cause you were 16, 17 at the time.
Yeah, this was mostly in high school.
Yeah.
Just like friends and everybody. So, I kind of did that. And then I just, I went to college, and I basically decided that I wanted to, this is such a sad thing. I didn't feel that people who were part of the arts were actually well respected as thinkers, and I wanted to prove that I was a smart kid and not just like a goof that did like crazy rock and roll stuff in musical theater.
Huh.
So I went to the University of Rochester thinking I'm going to go be a pre-med and just become a doctor, and I guess prove all these people wrong. And
so you went to university?
I did. I went to university, and I did all the pre-med classes in my first year, and I did fine in the classes, but holy cow, I was so incredibly bored. It just... I don't know. If the stuff speaks to you, that's great.
Yeah.
I would be still fascinated in it, possibly had I had like the right mindset, but it just was like, wow, where's the color in my life? Where's the like vibrancy of like reaching out to someone and having a human relationship and telling a story? So I guess I took one class that was a whole bunch of classical and scriptural backgrounds, and we read like the Iliad, and we read the Odyssey, and we read like Dante's Inferno, and it was just to complete a requirement. And I kind of just went, wow, this professor really, really knows like the heart of storytelling and the heart of like humanity's need for storytelling. And I discovered that University of Rochester had this almost secret but brilliant little theater program, and they would do these weird, far out plays that Susan Laurie Parks, who's a great playwright from, I think she's from America, but maybe she lived in Germany, but she did a play for every single day of the year, and she called it 365 Days, 365 Plays. And I guess a whole bunch of different theater programs took like a certain week of plays, and they would perform them, and they'd just be like these wild, weird things where like 12 people would enact being like a honeybee and something along that line. So I kind of found this little secret niche of cultural exploration in my university, and I went, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want to do. And I guess further, my school was associated with the Eastman School of Music, and it's like one of the 3 top schools for music in the U.S., and so I took voice lessons there. And then I met a lot of kids who seemed to walk the line between doing like really, really hardcore academics at University of Rochester and then being musicians as well. And a bunch of these kids kind of came together and they said, hey, we really, really want to start a band and we want you to be the singer. And I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. And you know what? Let's like start a record label and let's like go all the way.
Just
and
be proper
do
indie.
It. Yeah, absolutely. And the school, there was like a scholarship to like pay for that and pay for like a free year where I could just explore being an entrepreneur in music. And we started a band that was called Cat House, though I think we went through like a few names. There was like Fear of Escalators and Metapop. And but we decided on Cat House and we had like a bunch of cat themes. And we gave it like, I guess a heck of a run for about 2 years, trying to see what it would be like to be like, I don't know, we call ourselves like a sex rock act.
Okay.
And
what does that entail?
I guess we like to sound like The Darkness, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, and like other stuff like that. But we also really loved Block Party and we loved the Arctic Monkeys. So I don't know, maybe there were influences that were already drawing me to the UK because at that time, I guess Two Door Cinema Club had just like come about, and I don't know why, but they seemed like they were doing something that was like no one else had done before, and everyone was going crazy for it. But I don't know, maybe here everyone was like, yeah, been there, done that, seen that. But when they came to America, it was like, oh wow, this is like wild.
It's when you guys, you sort of over there, you really embrace our acts.
Yeah, we do.
You really do take our acts on and sort of run with them. So Arctic Monkeys, massive over there. The Darkness have just wrapped up a US tour. And you love Queen and the Beatles and
we do.
Duran Duran.
Yeah. I mean, I also love the even more like, I don't know, obscure stuff. Like I really, really got into your like math rock era.
Math rock? What's that?
As
in mathematics?
I guess so, yeah. They would do like weird time signatures. It was like bands like Colour, who turned into Tangled Hair. They just released an album. There's like Delta Sleep. There was a band called Tube Lord, which... I have
no idea about these ones. But then again, I'm not that well versed in all the new bands.
Oh, okay.
I haven't a clue. My musical taste really rooted in the 70s. I'm wearing a Kiss shirt.
Oh yeah, but
I'm talking to a guy in the Meatloaf musical.
Yeah, no, but I mean 70s rock, what was so cool about that was like also a time when like everything was just like changing so wildly. So yeah, I mean what was so cool is that my school also had a course that was called 1970s rock, and we would look at like an album a week. So I think it was 12 weeks, and it was like a different album each week. So it would be like The Wall, it would be like Yes's Fragile, it would be I can't remember the Alice Cooper album, but it
School's Out?
Yes, that was
Out,
it. Yeah. So
these are real cultural linchpins.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Jethro Tull's Aqualung, and
so a lot of Bob Ezrin in there.
I don't know Bob Ezrin. Is he the guy who produced most of these?
He produced The Wall. He produced all of Alice's early stuff. Like the first 10 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'll have to look up this guy. I really don't know him.
He's just produced Alice's new album, and there's a track on there that sounds like it could have come off The Wall. So you check that out because you'll probably really like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you were rocking and rolling, and you were learning about rock and roll at school. But then, how do you then turn that into a theatre career from school? What did you graduate with?
Oh, I graduated in English, and I graduated in music, and I did that DIY project with the band Cat House, and we all kind of realized, holy cow, this is challenging. Like, if you really, really want to go for it, it's probably going to take us, I don't know, probably like 3 more years if we're really, really going through the DIY approach. Because we were getting traction and we were doing like tours in the area. But, you're in like one city, you have to like reach out through a whole huge place, or just move to New York City.
Oh, so you moved from Philly to New York?
Sorry, this is all in Rochester, New York.
In Rochester. Okay. Oh, it's in New York, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So, but you had to move to like, New York City. And I don't know, that everyone kind of lost interest, and everyone was like, yeah, I'm going to go get a real person job. And I thought, I don't know in this super like hip hop, pop driven world right now that there's really a place for rock and roll to really, really take root and have a sustainable career. So I started looking into grad schools for theater, because that was the other thing that really, really drove me. And I looked at a bunch of the Ivy Leagues and auditioned for them and got into Brown and Columbia. And I decided that I would go to Brown. So I went to like the tiniest United State, and went to Providence, Rhode Island. And
is that near New York? I know nothing about the geography.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like above New York and to the right of Connecticut.
Okay. So it's not too. It's still
like
East
3
Coast.
hours. Yeah,
okay.
It's East Coast, Northeast, and I was there for 3 years, and basically was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna give it a try as like a theater person. But yeah. I did straight theater. I didn't even do musical theater. So
just acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I would try to like form a group up there, but mostly it was just focusing on acting. And after the 3 years, you do a showcase in New York City, and you do it in LA, and you see who's interested in you and who wants to like take you up, because agents come to these showcases. And I got a fine response, and I had a nice agency, and then you kind of just move to New York City, and you just give it a go.
You just start
auditioning on auditioning, and
grassrooting it.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's a challenge for anyone who's done it or is doing it or is about to do it. You get there, you audition, and you feel like you're not seen. You're not.
You feel invisible.
You're not heard. You're just. You're judged as, oh, you're an actor. Like, okay, but what are you going to do to actually make money? What are you going to do to make a living? And I had enough funds saved up that I said, no, I'm not going to get a day job. I'm just going to keep auditioning every day and keep going to open calls. And boy, you fail a lot. You succeed, but you hear nothing. Or I wouldn't really say succeed. You just kind of like bash your head against a wall and see where it gets you.
Part of that is succeeding. If you're not putting yourself in a situation where you go, hey, I'm going to quit.
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
is a success.
Yeah.
It might not feel like it, but that is a success.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back on it, you go, oh my gosh, yes, this was all what it was leading up to. Because I was looking online one night, and I saw that I seem to plug the SpongeBob musical a lot in my interviews, but there was an audition for it. There was an audition for the SpongeBob musical, and I knew that SpongeBob had already been cast, but I loved SpongeBob as a kid, and I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so cool. And they were saying like all the people who have written music for it, and I was like, wow, this sounds like a rock and roll kind of raucous, like funny show. I've got to audition for it. So I went to the open call for the chorus, and I walked into a room that was maybe a little larger than this, and it was packed full of about 150 guys. And these are 150 like dancing guys. And they did what I thought was an urban legend. They let us all into the room by like groups of 20 and basically said, yes, no, 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 yes, no, yes, no.
They're just going by looks, not
based
going
on
by
look,
talent or anything.
No, talent. Well, I don't know. They might have been looking for like, can you juggle or something?
Yeah.
But I got a no. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there goes my whole day. I waited, and I didn't even get seen. So the week after, there was a principal audition for it. And I went...
For the main cast, not the chorus.
Yeah, for the main cast. And I went, geez, if the chorus casting was so full, I'm sure this principal one is just going to be like packed to the brim. And I walked in there, and it wasn't. There were only about 10 people. So I went in the first like 15 minutes. Honestly, I can't understand it. I sang in front of the guy that I was supposed to sing in front of for the chorus call. And
what did you sing?
I sang "Living on a Prayer."
Wow.
And I got to like the high
song.
bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, did
bit.
you get that high note?
Yeah, you go to that high bit, and they all kind of looked up and went, "Where did this kid come from?" And they said, "Okay, we'll let you know." And I get a call from my agent the next day, and they say, hey, did you try out for the SpongeBob musical? And I went, yeah, I did. And they said, well, they want to see you again, bring an instrument, and play a rock song. So I was like, wow, awesome. And I got like super prepared with all the sides and everything. And I was like, I'm going to wear a SpongeBob belt and like a SpongeBob shirt. And I brought in like a...
You're going to cosplay.
Yeah, I brought in like a SpongeBob backpack. Yeah, I don't know if cosplay was the smartest idea because, of course, when I set that backpack down when I was in the audition room, I was like, this is a little much.
Who's the adult with the kids bag?
Yeah, absolutely. And, everyone seemed to bring in guitars, so I wanted to be different. And I said, I'm going to bring in like a giant like floor tom drum that's like bright red, and I'm going to bang away on that, and I'm going to sing like 16 bars of Jet, Are You Gonna Be My Girl? Because that was another like rocking one that I really, of course I'm referencing that like way from the past.
Yeah.
But
that's your rock education.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sitting about to go in for that audition, and a guy next to me kind of leans over and goes, hey, you auditioning for that Bat Out of Hell open call just down the street? And I said, do you mean Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell? And he went, no, I think it's a misnomer. I think it's written by like some guy named Jim.
Oh my God.
So, for someone who I guess is not educated in like the Meatloaf Jim Steinman lore, you just don't know.
Yeah.
However, I put two and two together, and my love for like Meatloaf when I was a teenager that my dad inspired in me, I kind of just went, I have to go for this. So I hustled down to that open call, like 2 blocks down, bumping into people on the way with the big drum because, of course, even though it's like a carrier, it's still like another person that you're carrying with you.
Like taking the drum on the tube.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I make it to this audition, and of course everyone who's waiting in line is wearing like leather jackets, like spiked belts and everything, and chains, like just like I was wearing.
SpongeBob.
And here I am in the SpongeBob outfit with the big bright red drum, and I felt thoroughly, embarrassed, but there was also a piece of me that just said, I don't care. For some reason, I feel like I'm supposed to be here, and I read the lead character's description, and it was the first time I went, oh yeah, I could do this.
What did it say?
Oh, geez. Leader of the Lost, permanently 18, wild and rebellious. I'm really just kind of pulling this out of thin air right now. And I think has to have a vocal range a la Freddie Mercury.
Oh, wow.
So,
but they're not asking for much. That's a big range.
No, they were asking for, I guess, a lot.
Yeah.
But what did they... they definitely said blonde hair, blue-eyed boy. And I went, I think I have that at least.
Was your hair wasn't looking like this? Because you got your hair now as you have it in the show.
Yeah, no,
what was your hair like at the time?
My hair was fairly short back then. I don't know. I was doing that like hipster look where you like shave the sides and like keep the top long.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
Like I've got.
Yeah. So I walked into that room barely being able to get the drum to fit through the door. And the casting director, who must have just been having the most boring day because she was like this with like her hand in her face and her elbow on the table, all of a sudden perks up and wonders why a SpongeBob kid has just walked into her audition room. And she goes, what are you doing? And I said, I thought I'd do 16 bars of a rock and roll song. And she said, okay, take it away. And I did it, and she seemed pleased. And I walked out of the room, and I honestly didn't think twice about it, given that I had auditioned for so many things, and you just don't hear anything.
Yeah. Was it just her in the room?
It was just her and the
Just
pianist.
her?
Yeah.
Okay.
So about a week later, my agency calls me up and goes, hey, did you audition for the Bat Out of Hell musical?
It's funny that your agent's asking you this.
Yeah, I know. Maybe my communication skills, because I had auditioned for so much.
Yeah.
I'd just been like, you know what? Why bother telling them if I just auditioned for all these things and I never hear anything? So they say, hey, they want to see you again, and they want you to bring the drum back.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of in shock, and I went, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And they're like, oh yeah, and choose a different song. So I went back to Living on a Prayer, and I did it with the drum. And I went in there, and I was going up for Jaguar, because obviously I was a nobody. I had no real I guess credits to my name besides ones that I've done in like regional theaters and at school. So I guess they were essentially taking a risk. So they brought me in for Jaguar, and I played the whole entirety of Living on a Prayer. And then when I finished it, they all kind of looked at me like, where did you come from? And the director was there, Jay Scheib, the musical director, Mike Reed was there. There were a whole bunch of casting directors in the back. Like it was probably the biggest room that I had been in with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And Jay was like, wow, are you in like a rock band? And I said, I was, but, it didn't really turn out so well. And he's like, oh, okay, thanks. And I kind of just left that room again and didn't think too much of it until I get a call the next day where they say, hey, they really want to see you again, but they want to see you for the lead. This kind of floored me, and I went, oh, okay, sure. And they said, go in there, don't bring the drum, and just, like, do your thing.
What did you sing?
I actually had to sing Bat Out of Hell, and I had to do the opening speech. To be able to recreate that speech was wild, and I don't know, I guess I just must have been an ignorant new person because I didn't realize that I was going up against people who had been, like, in Glee, like, actually the show,
oh, wow.
like, the 6th season. Someone who was in, like, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, and someone who, like, sings Jim Steinman songs for a living. So I was going up against those people. I walked into the room the first time. There was just, it was littered with people. It was littered with, like, Jim Steinman right in the middle, all the producers, potential producers for the show so far, all the casting people, and of course the director. And I kind of walked in there, and maybe because I was ignorant and didn't fully realize everyone who was in the room, I just kind of went, okay, I'm going to go and do this.
But you knew it was Jim in there, because it's one thing to go, oh, the director's here, but that's quite an anonymous person. There's a casting director. But Jim Steinman, the guy who wrote the song that I'm about to sing, did you know it? Did you look at him and go, oh, that's Jim?
I honestly was so in like a, oh, geez, what is this, that I didn't fully realize that the man who was wearing sunglasses indoors with the spikes was Jim Steinman.
Sitting on a motorbike.
Yeah, sitting on a motorbike. And I didn't fully register it until I walked out of the room, and then I went, holy cow, was that Jim Steinman sitting in the middle?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, the audition process lasted a long time. We were there for like 3 hours, and of course I'd brought my car in from Brooklyn that day, and I was like, I'm going to get a parking ticket. I really have to move my car. But they were like, no, stay. And we finished that first full day, and everyone just left, and no one knew. And I didn't hear until maybe like 9 p.m. when I got another email from my agency. They said, they want to see you tomorrow. Like, bring the same stuff, sing the same stuff. And I think that was just to show, can you sing this again?
Yeah.
Can you scream a rock opera, and then can you sing it tomorrow?
Did you think you did? I mean, they obviously thought you did great, but were you happy with your performance?
It was the first audition for like a final casting that I kind of went, wow, I think I could actually potentially do this. So
you were growing in confidence.
I was getting confidence throughout the whole audition process because I'd never been called back this much.
You were like, they love me.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was also like, they love me, but this could all be like this could all be taken away just like that. So
yeah, were you? I mean, you can prepare for failure. Were you also preparing for success?
Yeah, I think you have to prepare for both. I think everyone says this. Everyone says you walk into an audition room, you do your stuff there, you leave, and you're just supposed to let it go.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've met a single person who can just walk out there and just let it go, because you always get out and you're like, oh, geez, what went right and what went wrong, and you're always analyzing it. I mean, I'd love to meet the person who can just be like, yeah, I walked out of there and I got a coffee and I said whatever. So I don't know. I went in for the second final callback, and there were a lot less people in the waiting room, and I kind of suddenly realized that I think it was down to just me and one other person. And I kind of walked in there, and everyone seemed like more hesitant and afraid of what was going to happen.
The other guy auditioning, or the casting
sorry,
director?
The whole panel of people there. And I went through everything, and I sang Bat Out of Hell and gave it my all. And then all of a sudden, Jim Steinman speaks up and he goes, yeah, well, that's okay. But, can you do the second chorus where, what's the line? Of course, I sing it every night and I'm blanking on it right now. But then like a singer, like a singer. Then like a sinner before the gates of heaven, I'll come crawling on back to you. In that second verse, Meatloaf takes it up the octave and goes crazy. And he's like, can you do that? Because, I wrote that and you should do that. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I love the song. I could probably do that. So I sang that. And then I don't know. I think he was like, okay, cool. And I walked out of that room.
He was shocked, or?
I think he was just like, oh yeah, maybe this kid is the right choice.
Yeah.
And I kind of walked out of that audition room, and I remember leaving, and I went, holy cow, I think I just booked that. Because I was running into the kid who was going to audition after me, and he's like, hey, what did they ask you to do in there? And I said, they just asked me to do the speech and the song, and then they had me sing the song twice, and that was it. He was like, oh, cool. And he seemed really scared, but I kind of just walked out and went, I've never felt this way before. I feel like I did my best, and if they take me, I know why they took me. So I get a call the next morning, and...
But they don't hang around, do they? They don't wait, do they? Like they email the evening and they call the next day.
Well, those were only for the final callbacks. The other ones were always like weeks later. So I don't know. I'm sure it's different for every process. And I was about to get into the car to actually, ironically, go up to Rochester, New York, to sing with a brass band ensemble that would always do heavy metal songs for Halloween.
Okay.
They would do like Big Bottom Girls, and they do like a Queen medley, and they do what was I gonna sing with them? I was gonna sing The Stroke by oh my gosh, why can't I remember his name? Ooh, okay, I can't remember.
Someone.
Yeah, by someone. And then I think I was supposed to sing I Want to Be Elected.
Oh, so, okay, yeah.
But it's like all done with like a brass orchestration.
It sounds cool.
So,
I'd go to a concert like that.
Yeah, it was fun. And they invited me up because I hadn't done it for about 3 years, and the guy was about to retire. So I'm about to go up, and I get a call, and they say, hey, I don't know how you did it, but you got it. So
Your agent said that.
Yeah. You got it, and you're going to do the workshop for 3 weeks.
Is that an unreal moment?
It was unreal. I mean, it was all for a workshop. And I think the craziest thing is that me being ignorant and so new to the industry, I did not realize that a workshop basically meant you do a show for about 3 weeks. The show could be total junk, and producers who watch like the end performance or the reading will be like, oh, no, I don't really want to contribute money to that. And it could just disappear.
Oh, so they didn't even have the money in place. It was a case of
this was the audition for the show to possibly happen.
Oh my God.
So
the pressure.
Yeah,
Did you feel the pressure?
I didn't know the pressure. I didn't realize the pressure. I thought, I ignorantly thought this was a done deal. We're going to do this workshop.
We're going around the world.
Then we're going to go around the world.
Were you already counting the money?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't know if I was counting the money, but I was like,
I'm going to buy this house.
I can't wait to sing for everybody. We do that workshop, and apparently the people who saw it all gave like a good thumbs up, and there was a lot of positive reception about it. And then I didn't hear anything for about 6 months.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
That got to be killer.
Oh, yeah, it was killer. I mean, I went out, I found another job, and I was doing that. And I would say we did the workshop in 2015.
Oh, a long time ago.
So like November of 2015. I didn't hear anything until possibly June or July of 2016. And I get a call from the UK. It's a general management group here. And the guy says, hi, we're going to be producing Bat Out of Hell in the UK. It's going to be going to Manchester. It's going to be going to London. And then it's going to be going to Toronto. And we're hoping that you would like to play Strat. And I went, holy cow. When can I hop on a plane and fly over there? Yes, please sign me up. I would say in 4 months, I was hopping on a plane and, meeting Meatloaf for the press launch in London.
So you hadn't even started the rehearsals or anything. It was just
No.
a press launch to go, we're doing the musical.
Yeah, we're doing the
opening
musical.
on whatever date.
Yeah, and we're gonna like close down St. Martin's Lane and do like a live performance there. So we had like a week to pull that together, and then I had to meet Meatloaf as we went to the Q Awards together, and I presented an award to him. And I mean, geez, that was
That's got to blow your mind.
that blew my mind, and I was very, very nervous because I wasn't sure whether he would like me or not. And we're in this limo with his like bodyguard and his manager, and he's grilling me with questions, and I basically just say to him, listen, you're like a legend. You're such an inspiration in my life. It's such a thrill to meet you. You're my hero. And he's like, don't use those words. I'm just a regular guy like you or me. I'm like an everyman. He's the guy who landed on the moon first. And of course, when I said that to him, he's like, no, I landed on Pluto first. And we're just like, we follow in his footsteps. So to meet the guy who made these songs, legendary, it's surreal. It's humbling. And I'm grateful every day.
Did he give you any advice?
Oh, yeah. He talked about owning the songs. He said, because he approaches music first as an actor. And he said you have to find the story behind the song. You have to see how the character relates to the song. And you have to see how you relate to the song. And once you're able to make the song your own, then you can give it as a gift to the audience and they can make it their own. He talked about places to pull back and where to push in Bat Out of Hell and how to pace yourself because, Jim's songs are long.
Yeah.
And as he said, they should probably better fit a woman's voice than a man's.
Why is that?
But, I think, they're perfectly suited for Meatloaf because he's a Helden tenor. Though, you're like, you're going up there to the stratosphere as a man every time when you're singing these songs. So I think what's so great is we've got people like Christina Bennington and Danielle Steers in the cast who add like whole new elements to Jim Steinman Meatloaf songs that we've known for so long when they sing like Heaven Can Wait and 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. So, and I think it kind of just it makes the audience's eyes open and go like, holy cow, this music really touches everyone and everyone can relate to it.
Talk to me about your co-star, Christina Bennington. So you play Strat, she plays Raven.
Yes.
And it's almost like a Romeo and Juliet situation, but it's a very physical performance. You're very physical with each other. Was that quite awkward at the start? Because I imagine you didn't know her before you both got cast.
No, we didn't know each other at all. I mean, I think what's so great about the cast that Jay Chai pulled together with David Grinrod and all the other producers is that we were all just unknowns. Like nobody knew who we were. And, I mean, let's be honest, probably nobody still knows who we are, but they know us as these characters. And I think when we all came together, we all kind of like, lit like a communal fire of love and saying like, this is our child, this is our I guess project that's going to be like shown to the world, and we really, really believe in it with every blood, sweat, and tear that we shed. So working with Christina has just been wonderful because we would always push each other to go further and further. And what was funny is that song Crying Out Loud, where we're like jumping across the stage and trying our best to sing while
you're doing lunges and,
lunging
and just jumping at each other.
Yeah, and jumping on a mattress. Jay initially just kind of said, when you're running through the song, we need like a lift, we need like a jump, and we need one person on the floor and one person standing. And he said, as long as those key elements are there, this will be awesome. And it kind of just kept morphing through every venue. And we morphed it in Manchester. We continued to morph it in London. It would morph in Toronto. And then this is the kind of final result that we have, where it's a very loosely improved block of movement. And if we ever want to change it up, which Christina loves to do, we can always feed off of one each other.
And you could, when you change it, do you change it at a whim during the performance, or do you say to each other, that bit, let's just...
It's always on a whim. It's always like a challenge. And I think what's great about working with Christina is as soon as a challenge is presented on stage, while we're like in the heat of the moment, we'll always adjust and actually play with it and possibly mold it to make it an even better situation.
Do you purposely like throw a curveball to see how she reacts and vice versa?
Yeah, I think the curveballs probably come sometimes by accident, and then sometimes they're just I don't know. Sometimes they're just intuitive. But I don't know if they would like purposely be like, ha, take that, because I think that would be mean. But yeah, no, we're very much on the same page.
I love that the song has become a duet.
Yeah.
Because when I heard that the musical was happening and that song was included, I was like, that song is so central in my mind to Meatloaf, because that ends the first album. That's almost like the parting glance saying, the album that me and Jim have just done, this is what we do. That song in the show comes in about an hour and a half in, doesn't it? It's in the second half,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Do you ever, because it's obviously a very physical performance, do you ever sometimes think, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to, I can't do this tonight because it's just too much?
Oh boy. Crying out loud is a marker for I guess my part, because once you get to crying out loud, if you can get past crying out loud, then you're like, oh yeah, I got the rest of the show.
Is that the home stretch?
It really kind of is the home stretch. Of course, you've got Anything for Love waiting for you around the corner, and Rock and Roll Dreams come through and took the words right out of my mouth. However, if you get through that crying out loud and you're still breathing and still standing, then you know that the rest is going to be carried through with the adrenaline that you've already produced.
You're on that downhill stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the whole musical is pretty much like uphill throughout
just
the
constantly.
entire time. But it's like, as long as I can get that, it's on a rake, so,
One thing that I'm always really interested in is with creatives, I think no matter how many compliments that one can get or how sure someone is of their talent, there's always that niggling voice at the back of your head that says, nah, you can't do this. This isn't right for you. And it's a danger that it could undermine. How do you keep that voice quiet? How do you counter it?
That voice is very interesting. I think if you train the voice to not say so much, oh, you can't do this, this is stupid. I think the voice is also very curious, because the voice will never say to you, well, you did that the best you could do it. Good job. Because I think as your voice says that to you, then it's like you should just retire and maybe find something else to do.
Yeah.
Because the voice, I think, is there because it's saying, hey, I know you're doing it that way, but you've done it that way for so long. Like, what other meaning is behind there? I think a prime example is the opening speech. What's so beautiful about, what is it? I remember everything. I remember every little thing as if it happened only yesterday, is that it can mean so much, and it can mean so much to so many different people, and that you constantly need to explore it. You constantly need to crack it open and delve in there again and really see where the root and the blood lies in that speech and what actually makes its heart beat. Because Love, Death, and the American Guitar has such an intrinsic relationship with the rest of the show, because it's basically defining how rock and roll was born, how people stood up, I would say at any time period, and tried to explore change and new forms of love and new forms of everyone being equal and everyone being special. So I try to ask that voice to constantly delve into different parts of the show and say, yeah, but I know you're looking at it from this viewpoint right now, but how can you actually break that apart and possibly look at it through a new perspective? I mean, it's the same way that when you shot me, you were shooting me through a mirror. It's trying to find the different angle. It's trying to continuously delve deeper and deeper into the Earth's crust, where soon you get to the mantle and then hopefully you reach the core, but there's even more beyond the core.
If you want to see the photos of Andrew, head to sftl.photos. We always end with a quiz.
Oh, joy.
Cool.
Oh, no.
So, and it's all based around you, kind of.
Okay.
Philadelphia is famous for its Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. On average, how many calories are in each sandwich?
Oh, my goodness. Maybe like 1,200 calories?
Oh, no, 760.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
760?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
No, that can't be true.
Wikipedia, got to be true.
Oh, that's so wild because our basketball team, they're the 76ers. So.
Oh, wow. Maybe that's why.
Numbers
Maybe that's
thing.
why.
Yeah.
Meatloaf, the food, comes from which century?
Oh my gosh, I will probably know none of these. Maybe the 19th century?
The 5th.
Seriously?
Seriously, it was mentioned in a Roman cookery book called Episcus.
Really?
Really? Well, Wikipedia, so you never
I was
know.
really hoping it would be like the 1800s, like the Western, I don't know, never mind.
How many actors have played Batman on the big screen?
7?
Close, 9.
Ooh.
Yeah. The place where we're sat right now, the Dominion Theatre, what year was it opened? It's in the program. That's where I got this information from.
Oh, son of a gun. Of course I didn't read the program. But you say there are ghosts here, so...
I mean, I've never met any ghosts. I'm just
you haven't?
trying to spook you.
Can we say the 1600s?
We can, but you'd be wrong.
Okay.
It's 1929.
Jeez. This is new.
And final question. On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Will he offer me his mouth?
Yes.
Will he offer me his teeth?
Yes.
Will he offer me his jaws?
Yes.
Will he offer me his hunger?
Yes.
Again, will he offer me his hunger?
Yes.
And will he starve without me?
Yes.
And does he love me?
Yes.
Yes.
On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Yes.
I bet you say that to all the boys. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert.
This is how we end the podcast. I've been Robert Gershinson.
I'm Andrew Polec.
And for crying out loud, we'll shoot you later.